The wait for the Unihertz Titan 2 is almost over. If you are a Kickstarter backer, you can expect your phone shortly, and pre-orders for everybody else open on October 27th on the Unihertz website. $400 if you don't pre-order, a discount $380 if you do. I've been lucky enough to have my unit for a few months now, so let's talk about what you can expect when your Unihertz Titan arrives at your door. Let's flip around the camera and take a look. And we're back, so let's talk Unihertz Titan 2. The most important thing about a physical keyboard phone, of course, is the physical keyboard itself and the form factor. And I've said it before, not the quality of the BlackBerry Passport keyboard or something like your Bold 9900. However, it is the best keyboard we've had on a smartphone in years, and certainly the best one that Unihertz has put out. It is wonderful key travel, nice tactile press to the keys themselves. It's solid, but at the same time, I don't experience any fatigue with long-term typing out a long email or a long message over the course of a day isn't going to wear out your thumbs. And that's something that I felt with previous keyboards from Unihertz. Either they were a little too soft or they were a little harder with the rubber underneath on the original Titan. Got a little bit of thumb fatigue. None of that here on the Unihertz Titan 2. Absolutely fantastic typing experience. I also like that, as we've seen with other Unihertz Titan devices, it doesn't feel like the keyboard's an afterthought. It feels like Unihertz, there's only so much they could do on Android. It's not BlackBerry OS, but Unihertz did put some effort into making the keyboard feel like an integrated part of the experience. So you have long and short presses for shortcuts on the keyboard. I can hold up, I think I got, if I keep doing the capacitive here, I can pull that up. Instagram comes right up when I long press I, can swipe that out. I have several other keys and apps mapped here. The other thing I like is the side key, because you can see it's that aspect ratio, 1:1 aspect ratio, 4.5-inch LCD 2K display. It's an LCD, but it's nice LCD display. It's a quality one. The colors are fine. You can see I'm going to pull up Pokemon Go in a moment here. But what I like is the fact that you get two programmable keys as well, in addition to the key mapping on the keyboard itself. I have the second one mapped to the aspect ratio change, because at 1:1, not all Android apps are designed to play nice with that. Sometimes with gaming, sometimes with some other things you might see. Now there is a gesture, I think it's a 3-finger swipe down, but I have it easier to just be able to press this and I get, I believe, a 4:3 aspect ratio. I think there's one other aspect ratio you could play with in there, but this is nice to be able to go back and forth. Works well. It's nice. If you have an app that's misbehaving with the 1:1 aspect ratio, you could go ahead and solve that there. In addition to the key mapping, I mentioned that, but I forgot the shortcut, the buttons at the top can also be remapped the way you want them as well. So if you're somebody that wanted it a certain way from an older BlackBerry device, you could go ahead and change all of these keys, which I think is a nice experience. You do have the capacitive touch as we were used to with the Passport, but now the Unihertz Titan devices. I like that. It's a nice touch. You could also go in, there's something called cursor assist. You got to turn that on. That's not on by default. You go in, you turn that on, and you can actually swipe across and use it to highlight text in an email, which is nice. You can kind of scroll across and get the entire sentence without kind of fiddling on the screen. I like the capacitive thing because, yes, it's a 4.5-inch display, not a huge display, but my fingers aren't constantly up on the display. I'm not constantly scrolling on the display. So it's nice to be able to do a lot of that from the keypad itself, so my fingers are out of the way and I could just enjoy the content on that gorgeous wide screen. I like the wide screen. I think it's great for emails, longer messages, PDF files. You get to see more of it. Yes, it's a little thinner, or rather the text can be smaller. That's fine, but you can zoom in if you need to. I like aspect ratios like this, and I wish that we got more of them on other devices. So I want to show Pokemon Go because a lot of people ask me about that. Can you play it? Look, is this a gaming phone? No. Is it a phone you'd be able to play games on? Yes. You could do this. It's kind of a little wonky, right? Like not the best experience in the world, but you get the idea. Let's throw a great ball at this guy. Can do that just fine. Oh, see, that's the problem. Like the little ball. See, this is where I'd probably put it in 4:3. But for our purposes, right now, it's going to be fine. We will catch him. I promise. There you go. So it's not a gaming monster, not a game machine. You could switch back to, wow, this guy just didn't want to play nice. That's fine. Oh, all right, we're just going to get out of this. That's fine. Like I said, that's not the primary focus of the Unihertz Titan 2, and you just have to understand that going in. Performance, though, otherwise, Dimensity 7300, really capable chipset, 12 gigs of RAM as well. You're not going to notice, it's mid-range performance, yes, but again, you're paying $308, $400. What are you going to expect for there? But I do like the fact that you get that nice, smooth performance. It's a quality chipset in here with lots of RAM, so you're not going to get bogged down. There's not going to be things constantly opening and closing. You have plenty of your apps in cache. It's going to be a nice experience overall with that. So it's a mid-range chipset, maybe even a little bit below what you get for $400 in the mid-range. But for this device, I think it works well and it's smooth for the productivity items that you're going to be. You're not going to be editing video on this. You're not going to be playing intensive. You're not going to be spending 6 hours on Genshin Impact on your Unihertz Titan 2. So I think that the chipset works just fine for our purposes there, and 12 gigs of RAM is nice. 512 gigabytes of storage, you're going to need it because even though this is a huge device, it's a chonker, right? 10.8 millimeters thick, not going to get micro SD card expandable storage or a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Missed opportunities, obviously, on both accounts. It's a big device. Only 235 grams. I say only, but for a device that's almost 11 millimeters thick, and is this big and wide, you'd expect it almost to be a little bit heavier, but it's not. It's not completely unlivable. It's not unpocketable. This is a device that you could carry around and use, and I have on a bunch of occasions over the last few months. 5,050 milliamp hour battery, easily get 2 or 3 days because you think about it. There's a huge battery in this. Dimensity 7300 chipset, it's going to sip power. It's a mid-range chipset. It's not going to be power hungry. You pair that with a relatively small, right, only 4.5-inch display LCD. You're not looking at a whole lot there that's going to cause some undue battery drain. So that's important. Cameras, the 50 megapixel camera, and this is why you could see, when you put a 50 megapixel camera sensor on something, it doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. Software plays such a huge role in these cameras now that yes, there's a 50 megapixel main primary sensor on here, but it's not very good. You can install Gcam, that's fine, probably resolves a lot of the issues that you'd have with that, but just know going in, it's not a Shutterbug's dream when you're talking about the Unihertz Titan. I like the build overall, though. I like what they did with the texture. Some people complained about the branding here at the top. It's prominent when the light's shining on it, but for the most part, you don't even really know it's there. The subscreen, however, I don't like it. I don't really feel either way about it. I was on the podcast, doing the Android Police podcast, and my co-host Daniel mentioned that people, he says it might be a generational thing, that more younger people he sees are putting their phones face down. I don't know. You got Bumble on here or whatever. You got Hinge, Tinder, whatever. You don't want your dates. I don't know. Whatever you're doing. But the notifications are going to show up here anyway. So I don't know. I've never had a habit kept my phones face down. I'm just not comfortable doing it. But if you are somebody that does that, this does come in handy. Maybe for music controls, if you like to keep, or media controls, if you like to keep your phone face down. But for the most part, I could really take it or leave it. And I know a lot of people were frustrated and upset that there's a subscreen. Seems to be a trend. The Xiaomi 17 Pro Max has a huge one. I don't know what it is, but that's just something that you're going to get. Software support. I always get in the comments in other Unihertz videos like, oh, it's a year. I haven't gotten a software update. I get it. It's not going to be something that you're going to get monthly feature drops. Don't show up on the first Monday of the month expecting a security patch from Unihertz. It's not going to happen. After the last few videos, though, and I think I mentioned it in the other video I did on this, Unihertz PR reached out, said they do commit to support to the Unihertz Titan 2 through Android 17. Now, that may literally mean 1 update a year or 2 updates a year, and it's just your major Android update. Better than nothing. These devices, these are niche devices from smaller companies. You have to understand what they're able to do. Relatively stock Android, though, with the exception of the things that they put on top for the keyboard. So I don't have high hopes there. But at the same time, Unihertz is pretty, if there's a fatal flaw, if there's something that's really going wrong, like something's overheating or an app's not working or a camera's not working, Unihertz actually does other updates through the system. So you go in here, it's About Phone, and that's a second system update that Unihertz will actually throw out there to correct certain things that are going on. So that is something to be rest assured that your phone's not going to break. Unihertz will provide support, but just don't expect the latest and greatest features all the time. AT&T compatibility. AT&T as a whole, I'm using another device now. I can't even speak about it. as a whole has gotten better, not nuking your SIM card if you put it in an unsupported AT&T device. You'll get a text message saying, hey, doesn't work, but call us or something like that, but I still get 5G signal, everything still works fine. So Unihertz says they're working with AT&T, supports all the bands. You're really not going to have a problem across the board, I believe, with carriers. I think Verizon's even on there at the for this time for there, but they're all listed on the Unihertz site. They'll tell you all the carriers that they're listed with, including working with AT&T to get this certified on the network, which you like to see because you like to be able to pop your SIM in and not really worry about it. But on the whole, for $380, $400, if you're just dying for that passport experience that's long gone, this will tide you over. This will do the job. The key presses and the typing is phenomenal. If you're just somebody who, and I don't want to get into those other phones that are putting Android on the old BlackBerry hardware and they're gutting it. If they want to send one, fine, I'll review it. But I watched a couple of reviews. I was like, oh, the space bar doesn't work right now, or one of the function buttons doesn't work right now. But maybe in another What are you doing? What are we doing? This is a phone from a company that's a finished product that's supposed to work from the start. I'm going to lean here if I want a physical keyboard in 2025 over leaning to one of those other companies that who knows what's going on with those particular devices. So if you want to go ahead and pick one up, I certainly am comfortable with it. You know what you're getting into. You're somebody who really wants one of these devices. It's a niche product. You're somebody who understands that there are limitations to keyboard phones in 2025. But as far as they go, the beggars can't be choosers. This is a pretty darn good one. And I like the fact that Unihertz doesn't just say, wow, you know what, we're the only game in town, forget it. Unihertz puts actual effort into making sure these things are usable and giving us some actual function and functionality and versatility to the keyboard besides just being able to type. I like that a lot. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.